What happened on Friday for the Hungarian Grand Prix? Let's talk about some Formula 1, shall we? Beginning with FP1.
No
Perez in
way!
the wall!
No way! You could not make it up.
Oh my God.
My word. You know, of all the people that could have gone into the wall, this whole narrative of, is Daniel Ricciardo come in and does it put pressure on Perez and that kind of thing, for him to immediately, you know, first flying lap of the weekend, put it straight in the wall and go out of the session, you just couldn't really make it up. The Drive to Survive will be absolutely licking their lips at that one.
I cannot remember the last time I saw someone crash on their first hot lap in free practice 1. Like, that is unheard of. And the mistake that was made as well, you know, saying I dipped a wheel. He dipped a large amount of his rear wheel, let's be honest, in on that piece of grass, which of course then unsettled the car, goes spinning into the wall. It just feels like a mistake that you go, okay, fine, qualifying race, whatever, you know, there's an element of pressure. Free practice 1, I'm sorry, there's no pressure.
There's no pressure.
Just build your way up into the weekend, but no, yeets it into the wall. Like, I don't know what that is trying to tell me about Perez's current mindset. It's just a very, very strange one, but it's definitely showing that he is not feeling within himself at the moment. The
only real problem you can have in FP1 or FP2 or whatever is binning it in the wall. So absolutely shocking for Perez. And yeah, it came straight on the radio and said, I cannot believe it. And I think that pretty much sums up how we were all feeling as well, because he just could not make it up.
Question from Laura_Amy J. Is Perez in a slump? And if so, does that make his seat at risk? I think it's quite obvious that Perez is in a slump. He's going into his 6th race weekend where he attempts to make Q3. We were kind of obviously discussing, weren't we, about seats being at risk, and then we looked at Perez and went, well, you know, it's not going to be at risk until at least the end of the season, and then perhaps he might lose it. But we did preface it with, as long as he doesn't have a horrendous time for the rest of, like, the season.
Yeah, he is in an absolute slump of all slumps right now, when you're going into every weekend going, who's going to finish second behind Max Verstappen, because it's almost inevitable that he's won already and going to get pole, going to win the race. Nothing, like, completely unstoppable. And then he's in the same car, not even making it into Q3 and having all these errors and mistakes. And this is the thing, you just never know. You never know with Red Bull. I think it's something that we've literally seen this year with the whole De Vries thing. They could do it any time.
One saving grace, I suppose, for Sergio Perez, a very small one in the context of this weekend, is that the minute he crashed, the rain fell, and he didn't miss any real representative running, because the only cars that went out there were drifting around the place. You had Oscar Piastri, you had Charles Leclerc going out there, and I was just begging him to go back in the pits. We don't need wet running. No one cares. It's not going to rain for the rest of the weekend. Go in and chill out. So that was a slight bit of turmoil for my brain. But on the flip side of that, if you look at the overall Red Bull, I suppose, development and so on, and the cost cap, Checo binning it is not just a freebie, they go fix it, no problem. That comes out of their development budget. That comes out of the cost cap budget that they've got set aside. So it's not good. We've got one more question at TML037. Based on how Checo does this weekend and in Spa, could Ricciardo be in the RB19 after the summer break? I think Checo has a terrible race weekend this weekend and next weekend. He is not in the seat at the end of the summer break. Straight up, I will back it. I think
you think he'll get dropped?
If he has a terrible Hungarian Grand Prix and a terrible Belgian Grand Prix, i.e. crashing again, not making Q3, that sort of stuff.
It'd have to be really bad.
What have they got to lose?
Yeah, true. It's just, Yeah.
Tommy, this is the most dominant car of all time by the
No, I
potentially.
know,
So,
but
like,
they're already going to win the constructors' title easily, and it just seems like they'll wait for the end of the year. Exactly, but it is funny though, isn't it, that and this question is saying it, that Daniel Ricciardo, it's like, when will Ricciardo be in the car? It's like, so Yuki's just not there. It just shows that it does feel like it's there for Daniel Ricciardo, maybe not Tsunoda, I don't know.
Yeah, well, there's that whole chat, wasn't there, about Aston Martin being Yuki Tsunoda's eventual sort of
with the Honda partnership, yeah.
Weird. But yeah, the way where he's going to end up, and then potentially Daniel Ricciardo goes up to Red Bull. They see how he does. Liam Lawson comes in early for the AlphaTauri seat. It could happen, Tommy. It really could.
Yeah, it's not out of the question. I think he has to have an absolute mare for it to happen, but he's going the right way about it because he is having an absolute mare, and it just seems to be getting worse and worse.
Moving away now from Red Bull and Perez to Carlos Sainz, who also gave us a small, tiny bit to talk about, where just lost it. Did exactly what I didn't want Ferrari to go and do, which was go and do running in wet, changeable conditions that were potentially a little bit too wet for intermediates. Carlos spun, had a minor touching with the wall, but nothing too extravagant, maybe a slight bit of damage. But yeah, then he got beached on the curb because it's like
I've never seen
where the
that
grass
there.
is, and it was like. And then the marshal made me laugh so much because they were obviously trying to wheel him back onto the circuit. So the marshal on his left rear was just trying to push the wheel because obviously expecting it to have some kind of contact patch with the grass, but it didn't. So the wheel was just rotating as he was trying to push it, and it was going absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
Which, it did make me chuckle. So,
It was so funny how he was like perfectly balanced on that curb that it was just kind of seesawing a little bit on there, and obviously the way the floor is just like perfectly flat and so low now that he had nowhere. Nothing to do.
He literally couldn't get out, but after a push, he managed to make his way round. So yeah, that free practice one, it ended with Russell being fastest ahead of Piastri and Stroll. We thought Oscar Piastri was going to top FP1 right at the death, didn't we? Until Russell snatched it away. But it was an incredibly unrepresentative session. You had Verstappen and Hamilton 19th and 20th, and there was quite literally no dry running apart from Sergio Perez's first sector. Wow. The data that man would have been able to take back to the garage. Not his car, but the data he would have had. It was just unbelievable to see.
It was. He did extremely well with that data because he finished 18th in FP2. So good job he got those corners in before he binned it.
Let's go to FP2 now, and just want to say straight up, because it's been a while, Charles Leclerc P1. P1 with Charles Leclerc. We love to see it. First question from FP2. The Abstract Poet. Was Silverstone a one-off, or do McLaren genuinely have a car that can challenge for the podium this weekend? No. McLaren themselves, as you told me on the stream, Tommy, have said that they aren't going to be that good this weekend. Everything that we sort of spoke about in terms of the philosophy of that McLaren, I don't know. It doesn't seem to do that well. However, on the flip side, Lando Norris did finish second in FP2, but I'm also taking that with a rather large pinch of salt, considering
because Piastri's 19th,
Tsunoda's 4th, Piastri's 19th. It was again a really mixed. I don't want to say unrepresentative because obviously it was dry. But go on then, Tommy, do it.
You look at that order and it's just all over the place, and I think it is just because the FP1 being a washout, this kind of almost became FP1 in itself. They're all doing different plans. Everyone's all over the place. I mean, let's not forget that this question mentioned Silverstone. Last week, I'm pretty sure we had a question in FP1 from Silverstone being like, why are McLaren so rubbish in practice? They're clearly the upgrades haven't worked and they've broken our heart. And then Lando goes and sticks it on the front row in qualifying the next day. So I wouldn't get too built up on this order.
Next question, Ace 12 Adam. Who is actually a contender for the podium this weekend? Adam, if we knew, we'd be putting a bet on it. But I don't think anyone has any idea from free practice today who is going to be on the podium. One thing, however, we do need to talk about, Mercedes looking washed again in free practice. Very washed. I mean, Martin Brundle, he said, not, and I quote, because it wasn't a quote, that they were washed in a particular corner that he was watching them at.
Didn't he say they were the slowest round that corner or something, and that generally the slowest? But look, it's only practice, and let's not remember Mercedes were always finishing like first and second in practice sessions last year. And we're like, are Mercedes back? And they never returned, apart from Brazil. So yeah, we don't know yet. It's going to be fascinating when we do get to see what's going to happen, because you know it's confusing for this at the moment because we don't really know what happens. But that's the beauty and the excitement of it, that we're going to go into qualifying or even FP3 and not really know until we get some lap times. And you know, someone like Fernando Alonso, he's been bigging himself up. Like, he put a brilliant TikTok up where it was the clip of him smiling behind Piastri, and it was him like smiling at the thought of the Hungaroring, which we all know is Monaco without walls, and the Aston was very good around Monaco. Well, in Alonso's hands it was. So yeah, that could be him. But
are you gassing Fernando up again now?
I just really need I need a win. I need a win for Fernando Alonso. That's all I want.
Well, I need
season.
a win for Charles Leclerc, but you know, we can't all get what we want, Tommy. Unfortunately, it's Max Verstappen era.
No.
Question about Max. MJ_95_. How much can Max be holding back? He said he was happy with the new upgrades, but we didn't get to see much track action from him. MJ95. I think Max Verstappen doesn't need to try anymore. That's what I feel like. He did 17 laps in FP2 for a team that has brought that, a substantial-ish upgrade, potentially a handful of tenths a lap, according, maybe. The fact that they didn't do that much running, because 1, Perez binned it in the wall, 2, it was raining, and then 3, Max Verstappen did 17 laps, and then Perez did 13, either suggests Red Bull have got issues, or that Red Bull are just like, let's not try, let's not push things. And also, as well, there is a slightly less amount of tyres available this weekend because of the structure, and they're trying to save tyres moving forward, be more sustainable. And we'll speak about that because it's going into a different qualifying format as well, which was supposed to happen in Imola, but is happening here for the first time, where drivers have to use hard tyres for Q1, mediums for Q2, and then softs for Q3. So I'm sure there are plenty of reasons why Red Bull aren't running, but I don't think it's because they're struggling.
Well, we can all hype it up and pretend it's gonna, like, Max is in the mud, and we're gonna have the greatest race of the season.
Please,
I'll take it, because we need a bit of a mix-up.
And that's it. Thank you so much, everybody. It was actually quite a long chat about relatively nothing that happened in Friday practice, but Sergio Perez, obviously the big talking point. Let us know your thoughts on social media or in the comments below if you're over on YouTube. Right, that is it. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching and listening, and we'll see you very soon for another piece of content. Bye!
Bye!
He can't win every race, can he? He can't win every race, can he? He can't!